We had a real oral tradition in our house. I knew the word griot when I was a little boy. A griot was a person in Africa who was charged with keeping the stories of the village. Everyone would tell a griot the stories and they would remember them all so that they could tell future generations. And when they got old, they'd tell them to someone else. And they say in Africa, when a griot dies, it's like a library was burnt, man.
The griots were these brilliant African storytellers who learned for generations, the father, the son, mother, daughter, so forth, the stories of their people, their kings, their lands, etc., and so forth. In order to instruct others, they would have these huge sessions where they would sit around and pass these stories down and instruct people and so forth.
And the griot is the man who sits down there, who knows the history, who knows every single story that is important, relevant for that kingdom.
Welcome to Griot's episode number 2, part 1, the Griot's Word. I'm not about to reintroduce myself. Thank y'all for paying attention and watching. So let's get into this. Integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, a moral uprightness. So when you think about being morally upright and having integrity, you got to look at it from an angle of even if nobody's looking, you do the right thing. I'm not going to get into politics heavily, but I'm going to go over a couple things. I'm going to leave that up to your imagination to figure out who it is I'm talking about or who you think I'm talking about. In my opinion, how I feel about certain individuals is none of your business. But if you feel some type of way about what I'm about to say, then a hit dog will holler. So let's get into this. All right. So when our country had started to bounce back from a depression and we were on the road to healing, there was a shift in economic values and prioritization. The value of small businesses, the middle class and the lower class became non-existent. Now a pandemic appears to be rolling into 2021. That's a whole entire year of people losing their jobs. That's a whole entire year of people having to take care of their kids and their kids aren't able to go to school. That's affecting everyday life. And I'm not going to point fingers about who caused this problem or this issue. I think in the grand scheme of things, that's been made clear enough. So wherever you stand with that, the fact is that it's a pandemic going on. We're stuck here. And unless we change something, this is where we be stuck in 2021. When this first started occurring, you had people that didn't want to follow the rules or obey the law or have the integrity to do the right thing and allow themselves to respect everyone else around them. So they'll go in the store and then they'll cough in your face or cough in your baby face, which is crazy. I'm not saying they deserve to get shot, but people do get shot over stuff like that. But then turn around and expect people that they're doing it to show them respect. That's it. That's insane, right? So we'll go over a couple statistics. In the last 4 years, 5.8 million preventable COVID. In the last year, 5.8 million preventable COVID cases, 179,000 preventable COVID deaths, withering economy, except for the big businesses, millionaires and billionaires. Farmers are going bankrupt. Small businesses are going bankrupt. Families working hard just to survive. A couple overhauls of the postal office. That's funny timing that they overhaul the postal office right now. So I'm just saying, like, a hit dog will holler. Civil and social unrest that could have been fixed, but clearly there's a lack of leadership somewhere. I'm not going to point any fingers. I'm going to let you decide where that lack of leadership is. But if we have all these issues going on here in America, you would expect someone that cares to step up and do something about it. Not hide behind cameras and blame other people or find a scapegoat and then turn it to that Like, this is going on in your backyard, so you want to take care of that. Whatever city you're in, these are issues. And these are things that we need to take care of as a people, as a whole. Egregious bailouts for big businesses. You look around your city, I'm pretty sure you can find plenty of small businesses that have either closed down, are still closed, or they're constantly trying to get loans to keep their businesses open. Now, these are people that have went out their way, used their own money, built relationships with other people, had them add into it, and then tried to create something for their communities. And when they needed someone the most to step in and help them, they got nothing in return. So they gave back to the communities and received nothing in return. Not that it's the community's fault, but that they had an understanding that if they needed help, the state or the government would help them. And now here they are stuck in the middle of a pandemic where it's already hard to find work and it's hard to work, and they can't even keep their businesses open. If that doesn't feel like a thief just robbed you, I don't know what to tell you. Because to me, that's what it seems like. You're being robbed. This week, the RNC is taking place, the Republican National Convention. Let's take a look at what Vice President Pence had to say about the civil unrest.
My fellow Americans, we're passing through a time of testing. But in the midst of this global pandemic, just as our nation had begun to recover, we've seen violence and chaos in the streets of our major cities. President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Tearing down statues is not free speech. And those who do so will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Last week, Joe Biden didn't say one word about the violence and chaos engulfing cities across this country. So let me be clear. The violence must stop, whether in Minneapolis, Portland, or Kenosha. Too many heroes have died defending our freedom to see Americans strike each other down. We will have law and order on the streets of this country for every American of every race and creed and color.
I would like to get into this civil unrest situation. Why is it that we have civil unrest? If someone's rights are being abused and they're having legitimate issues with the laws and legislature that is passed in America on that affects their community or them as a or their livelihood, their way of life, the reason for being able to say, hey, I live in America where it's free, liberty, justice for all. And that person is sitting here telling you over and over, I'm having this issue. Can you help me? And you refuse to ever take care of that situation. 5 years later, same thing. 5 years later, same thing. 10 years later, same thing. This is not a new issue. This has been going on. So when you talk about civil unrest and you say that you want to send police officers and cops, and the very same people that's caused the civil unrest in the city, and then on top of that, you want to send more backup instead of actually going to fix the problem, how do you fix that? Instead of using it as a scapegoat, why don't you just fix the situation and the problem? And I'm not saying this for one person, I'm saying this for a lot of people, because it's always the same people trying to find other reasons to point at that individual as if they're the reason that this happened anyway. If a black man gets shot, the first thing they do is they go and they find his past history, and then they try and use that against him. People change. If you use my past history, I'm pretty sure you could find something you could use against me. But today, I'm a completely different person. I'm trying to do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. But you constantly use the past to try and dumb down the incident that just occurred. And that's for every single situation. Every media news outlet does that. When will it stop? In the current situation with Blake, the young man, 17-year-old that just shot down the two individuals in the street, killed them, and then shot another one and injured them. He drove across state lines, went over, walked down the street with his finger on the trigger. 17 years old, wasn't even supposed to have a gun, and caused that to happen. Let's think about that. First off, his mom drove him, took him over there. He shouldn't have had the gun, and then he killed somebody, wanting to be a quote-unquote vigilante. Now, I'm sorry, but every time it's one of us that do something, or if it is one of us that do something, the first thing that come out of everyone's mouth, they're a thug, they're a terrorist. But this is a vigilante that wanted to be a police officer, and he was just trying to protect somebody else's shop, which he had no family ties to. And y'all were sitting there rooting him on. Right now, there are groups calling him a hero, even though two people that were peacefully protesting just died. That doesn't sound like a hero to me. I don't know what else to say or what else anyone can say to get people to see that what's going on in America right now, the only way to move forward from this is to actually take care of the situation. You can't put a Band-Aid on it. You can't try and cover it up. You can't talk it down. The worse it gets, the worse it'll continue to get from the other side. Now you got these quote-unquote vigilantes, I'll call them terrorists, because they're terrorizing protesters and making the situation worse. I think the fact that the cops saw him, let him go do it, and then let him walk away from the scene of the crime. They didn't even want to arrest him at first. That sends a loud message. The Wisconsin Police Department chief, I think his name is Miskins or McInnes. His reply had me pretty upset. When being interviewed, and I quote, "It wouldn't have happened if people weren't out after curfew." I don't even know where to start with that. If you got a child, or let me ask him a question. If you have a child, which you probably do, you look like you're on the age where you would have children, I would hope. If your children disobeyed you and went outside after curfew, and you got a call in the middle of the night and said, "My child just got shot," how would that make you feel? Because your child broke curfew, they got shot? Oh, they were out past curfew, so they deserve to die. That's a piss poor ass excuse, and you should never say that. And for that reason, you should be fired. And anyone that agrees with you in that police department, you should be fired as well. Not to mention, 2 years previous, in 2018, Sheriff David Beth of the same police department, he went on a rant, and I quote, "These individuals should be thrown inside of warehouses and locked up forever so we can just go on with our life." Now, that's two people with that same mentality from the same police department. Where's internal affairs? Are you guys taking care of this? Obviously not, because your police are shooting down citizens, letting 17-year-olds run around the street with guns, and then trying to use the worst excuses to justify the means. I'm praying for y'all city. If you protesting, keep doing what you got to do to be heard. Griot out.